The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome to another episode of Insights. I'm Lauren Mixon, and I am here with Airport Manager Steve Smigelski. How are you today?
I'm doing fine this morning, thank you.
Good, thank you for being here. So we are standing in the new terminal at the Alpena County Regional Airport, and obviously there's a lot of construction happening behind us. So if you don't mind starting by telling us what's going on here.
Well, we're replacing the old terminal, which was a 6,000 square foot facility that was originally built in 1954. And with the way that security has changed through the years after September 11th, anybody who's been through the terminal knows that it's really kind of been chopped up. So we applied for, and the FAA granted us the money so that we can build this new facility. And that's going to address all the concerns that our passengers have, everything from security to ease of boarding and just a better passenger experience.
Now we can tell that this is going to be more spacious already than the old terminal. So we're going to come back to some of the features, but let's start by talking about the old terminal and why it's not functional anymore. So could you highlight some of those things and just why it's not working at this point?
Well, the old terminal, it doesn't have a passenger boarding bridge. There isn't a proper baggage claim. The people's bags just get set on the floor. It's not the most ideal situation. And the hold room is quite cramped because it was really a make-do addition after September 11th. So the whole terminal experience, to be completely honest, isn't a pleasant one. It's convenient, but it's not pleasant.
So you said that one was 6,000 square feet. How many square feet is this one?
This one is just under 13,000 square feet. As a matter of fact, where we're standing right here, we have more room in the main foyer than we have in the entire old terminal building.
Wow. So with the new transition happening, let's just touch on this really quickly too. What's going to be happening with the old building now that everything is moving here to the new terminal?
Well, we're going to keep the old terminal building. We're going to be using that for airport administration still. The TSA is going to be still leasing some space from us there. And we're hoping to attract another business to come in, perhaps maybe a restaurant, or there might even be another fixed base operator that wants to come in and lease the area.
All right, so we've kind of covered the basis for the older stuff. Now let's touch base with what's happening here in the new terminal and some of the updates that are happening. So you told me there are going to be many conveniences here, a new baggage claim, potential food vendors. Tell me about what all is happening here.
Well, we've decided that what we wanted to do was we wanted to make this a very pleasant experience for the traveler. So again, everything is much larger, it's more spread out, you're not going to be shoehorned in, and passenger conveniences. We're going to have the check-in for the baggage counters. You'll actually be able to check two people at the same time, whereas now we can only check one at a time. You mentioned the passenger boarding bridge. Currently, anybody who's flown out of here knows whether it's raining, snowing, or the sun is shining, you have to walk out of the terminal and walk up the steps of the airplane. And for some of our people that are a little impeded by mobility, we do have a ramp that gets pushed up to the aircraft, but again, it's open and it can be difficult for some folks to get up and down. So the passenger boarding bridge is going to bring us right square with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And again, you don't have to walk out in the rain to get on your aircraft.
Right. So that kind of brings up an important topic as far as safety goes. How is this building going to be safer than the old terminal?
This building is going to be state-of-the-art as compared to what was built in the 1950s. Everybody's mind is on transportation security these days, so there's going to be standoffs in front of the building, so somebody couldn't drive a vehicle through the front of it. The building itself, I mean, there's very little that can actually catch fire, but this one is fully protected by a sprinkler system. which the old building does not have, believe it or not. We rely on hand fire extinguishers. And just the simple fact that it's going to be easier to move around. There's less tripping hazards. It's just, all in all, it's going to be so much better for the folks.
Now let's move on to the travel aspect of it. You talked about that a little bit with the passenger boarding ramp, but just the experience of going to the airport is already stressful enough. Getting your bags checked, putting them on the conveyor belt, going through TSA. What's that process going to be like for the passenger now?
It's going to be a lot more enjoyable. When our consultant, RS&H, came to Alpena a year ago, they spent 2 days in the area just taking photographs of everything. The parks, the buildings, the downtown area. And just about every aspect of this building gives a nod towards what Alpena has been in the past and where we hope to go in the future. When we get a chance, you can take a look at some of the soffit that's going up on the outside. It's copper washed, and that's supposed to be a nod to the Pewabic that sank here in the 1800s. The brickwork on the outside of the building, that's a nod towards the quarrying that happens here. And as soon as you walk into the new terminal, you're going to be met with that beautiful translucent wall with the natural grasses in it. That's a nod to the natural beauty that is the Alpena area.
And you told me about some other conveniences that just makes it sound completely comfortable here. A fireplace, lounge areas. Can you highlight some of those things for me?
Oh yes, we're going to have a fireplace as soon as you walk in. There will be some comfortable seating around that, so if you want to just enjoy the fireplace, you can do that. We're hoping that in the future, we're developing a small park just outside the building, so if we can find somebody that would like to put some cobblestone and benches up, we'll hang a sign with their name on it, so if you don't want to be inside the building and the weather is warm, you can go out there to the park and just relax. There's going to be speakers on the building, so you'll hear any boarding calls and such. There's going to be tall top tables, and all the furniture that you sit in is going to have built-in chargers, so you don't have to worry about your cell phone or your iPad dying. We're also going to have vending on both the secure side and the land side. And just all in all, a much nicer, more spread out experience.
Well, this sounds like it's going to be amazing for passengers coming in. It's making me want to travel. Thank you so much. That was our first segment of Insights. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Insights. I am here with Steve Smigelski. He is the manager of Alpena County Regional Airport. Thank you again for being here with us.
My pleasure.
So we have a few more things to cover that we didn't talk about in our last segment. So let's talk about when construction started here. When did this project get up and running?
Well, the project actually has its roots all the way back to 2014. The FAA insisted that all the pavements, the runways, the taxiways, all that had to be in tip-top shape before they would consider giving discretionary money for the construction of the terminal. So the former airport manager, Billy McRoberts, she really did a lot of work around here to get us ready for this part. Then the design phase, that was almost all of 2018 as they designed the building, the ramp, and the parking lots. And construction started this past November, and I gotta hand it to these guys. You remember when it was 20 below zero?
Yes.
They were out here pouring concrete in 20 below zero. So they were using a heater trailer and insulated blankets to thaw the ground, but they're dead set that they're gonna have this place open by December 20th.
Ooh, that is some dedication right there.
It is.
During the polar vortex, they were out working.
Yes.
So people will be able to use the terminal then this year?
Yes. Again, we're hoping that December 20th, we'll do the official ribbon cutting. At that point, the airline will be moved over, TSA will be moved over, and December 20th, we should start running our first flights out.
So let's talk money. A lot of people like to know about that subject and where tax dollars are going and things of that nature. So what was the cost and the budget for this project?
Well, let's start small and we'll go to big scale.
Okay.
The small part of it is Alpena County took $1 million out of the general fund, and then we took out a bond for another $1.5 million. So Alpena County is basically into the project for $2.5 million. Between all the projects that are going on, the building, the ramps, the parking lots, it's just under a $13 million project. So the FAA has helped us out tremendously by basically supporting the most of the money. MDOT has contributed just under $300,000 to the project as well. So this is a huge project that we really got, if you'll pardon the saying, on the cheap.
How were Alpena County taxpayers affected by the airport revitalization, if at all?
Well, the $1.5 million bond that was sold through, the name of the attorneys escapes me, but essentially Alpena County has to pay back that $1.5 million bond. So really, it's pretty minimal impact to the taxpayers.
So is there anything else significant in terms of cost that's taking place here?
You'd be amazed how much of a significant cost everything can be. The passenger boarding bridge, that is about $1 million just for the passenger boarding bridge. But the FAA stepped up and 100% funded that, so we're not having to pay for the passenger boarding bridge at all. And just things that you would never even consider, like the new emergency generator for this building, that was $300,000 all by itself, and it is a huge generator. But
It is huge.
yeah, you start seeing what some of the material costs and such can be. It can be kind of shocking if you've never been in a project this size before.
I can imagine that would be a tough project to take on and manage as well. So let's move on to airline convenience. Anyone who's traveled in Alpena knows that Delta is the airline supported here at the Alpena County Regional Airport. What are some of the conveniences that they'll experience as a result of the construction of the new terminal?
Well, one of the big things that is going to be convenient for the airline is when they come in now, they shut off their main engines, but they have to leave the auxiliary power unit running to provide air conditioning or heat and just power to the aircraft. Well, I've been told that that engine can burn 100 gallons of jet fuel in 1 hour.
Wow.
So now when they come in, when the passenger boarding bridge extends to the aircraft, they can just plug the aircraft into shore power. So now the airline is going to be saving that money in jet fuel. So is that important to us? It really is, because SkyWest is the contractor for Delta. They're the ones that operate the aircraft. So when we lower the operating costs for SkyWest, every 2 years when we go through our essential air service contract, we're more likely to get bids from partners that see us as working to help save them money and improve the time on the ground as well.
Will that affect the cost for travel directly for people coming through the airport?
SkyWest has been a fantastic partner for us. They really have. About 2.5 years ago, we were having a terrible time with enplanements, and the complaint was always the same. It was expensive to fly out of Alpena, and they were right. So we approached SkyWest, and SkyWest, without any kind of really having us to pester them, they looked at where we were losing most of our passengers to, and they adjusted our pricing so that we are now competitive with that other airport. You'll pardon me if I don't use the name. But, so now that our prices are competitive with them, and we have the added bonus of free parking here, if you've been paying attention to the news, our enplanements have been steadily increasing month after month for the last 2 years. So SkyWest really helped us out a great deal.
Well, that's great news for travelers. Is there anything else that maybe is a convenience to the airline here?
Well, just the fact that we're going to be able to get passengers through the screening, the baggage can be processed faster, all that equates to less time on the ground. And an airplane is just like an 18-wheeler. It's not making any money unless it's doing some work. So as much time as we can save the airlines in ground time, that equates to a better profit margin for them. And that's all good for us, because again, at EAS time, they'll think about us and want to bid again.
Right. And one of the big things you mentioned to me earlier was the fact that now travelers can come here and they won't have to leave the grounds to do simple things like find food. Could you tell me why that's so important?
Yes, our new passenger holding area, it's fantastic. It's 90 people, so it's very large. And as the airliner only holds 50 seats, you can imagine how that's going to translate to just more comfort. You'll be able to spread out a little more. We're hoping to attract a food vendor, and he can provide basic services inside the checkpoint. And we also have 2 bathrooms in the checkpoint. So when you go through security, you don't have to leave if you don't want to. You can just sit down, read your iPad, do whatever you want. You'll be able to get something to eat and drink, and there's bathrooms right there.
Well, that sounds like a much better traveler experience. Thank you so much, Steve, again, for being here with us. We'll be right back with more insights. Welcome back to Insights. I am here with Airport Manager Steve Smigelski. Thank you again for being here with us today.
It's a pleasure as always.
So, as you can see, we are standing here on gravel. Behind us is a paved parking lot. And that's going to be something really big as the new terminal is being built, because that means more parking for passengers coming through. If you could tell us a little bit about that and how that project came about and what that'll mean for travelers.
Okay. What they call this the flat work is what we're doing out here, and the civil engineering that's happening out on the ramp. But what we've managed to accomplish here is the paved side that you see behind us. There's as much parking in that section alone as we used to have between the old short-term and the old long-term parking lot. Now it's all going to be one huge parking lot. So we're going to double the amount of parking that we have. We're going to be doubling the number of our handicap spots. So we're really trying to make things a lot more convenient for everybody. Hopefully we don't run out of parking, but that's always a good problem to have, right?
Right.
Additionally, we're going to be putting in another parking lot to the north of the terminal, and that's going to be dedicated for employee parking and for rental car return. So all the parking in the main lots is going to be all for the passengers.
Now, you told me before that you used to run out of parking spaces. Like, people would literally come in and they'd have nowhere to put their car. Where were they parking, and how was that being accommodated?
We would actually overflow people into the grass across Airport Road on the west side, which, yeah, we don't want to do that. That does not give the right impression. So now we're not going to have that issue any longer. I mean, we're going to be able to hold over 200 cars. And again, even in the future, when we go to the 70-plus seat airliners, there's still going to be plenty of parking available and improved drop-off and pickup. It's just going to be a whole lot better all the way around.
Now, parking is very important because, especially if you're parking far away, for parking across the street on the grass, now you have to imagine people carrying their luggage across the parking lot from their car. What type of reactions were you seeing from people who were having to make that long walk all the way to the terminal?
Well, in the summertime, you don't get too many complaints, but I think in March, you can pretty well expect you're going to get the stink eye. And it's just something that we were never happy with either. So thank goodness we've been given this opportunity to make things better for the citizens and just make everything a better experience for them.
So in addition to the flat work here, there's also going to be a new ramp for passengers. Can you take us to see that?
Absolutely, I'd love to show that to you.
Perfect.
Well, here we are on the secure side of the airport, and this is the ramp project. Now, when we built the new building, it's of course further to the north than the old building, so we have to expand the ramp 75 feet to the north so that the airliner has enough room to turn out after everybody's on board.
Right.
As well, what we're doing is we're improving the drainage that was on the connector between Taxiway Echo and the ramp. It actually had settled, so there was a bit of a dip there, and if anybody's flown out of here, you've always felt the airplane do that shimmy. Well, they're going to be replacing all that. That's going to be leveled off. And the connector is huge between the ramp and the taxiway. So another aspect of this project is we're going to break the connector into 2 pieces. There's going to be a large hexagonal area that's going to be put in so that now you'll be able to do concurrent traffic. Whereas before, if you had an airplane taxiing down Echo, anybody that was on the ramp had to wait for the plane to get onto the ramp. Well, now if we're doing snow removal operations with 2 connectors, the snowplow can just roll out and away from the airplane while the airplane continues to taxi in. So it's another efficiency improvement, and it helps speed ground time as well. And eventually, it's a plan. We would like to take that hexagonal area. It's going to be already lighted, and in the future, we would like to turn that into a helipad. We get a lot of medical evacuations, plus there's the state police, we have the military. When they land helicopters here on our ramp, the tower can't see them, so they're always told land and take off at your own risk.
Right.
Well, if we can put a helipad right there, the tower will be able to see it, and we've improved safety for everybody coming and going in helicopters.
Now, you mentioned the connector, and for people like me who may not be super tech savvy, what does the connector do? What's the significance of that?
Imagine, if you will, a parking lot and a highway, and you've got like a little driveway that always connects the two.
Okay.
That's a connector.
Gotcha.
In our case, it just happens to be about 400 feet long, so we're going to make two out of it.
Well, that definitely sounds like it's going to bring some conveniences along with the ramp itself, and that's going to save people from having to walk outside in the elements.
Oh, yes.
Especially in the rough Alpena winters. I'm sure that's going to be really important and get some great feedback.
Oh, yes. And another thing that's happening out here is all the slabs, they're 20-foot square slabs, and all the joint seals have been peeled out. All new joint seals have been put in. Anywhere where we had cracked or broken concrete, that's all going to get saw cut and replaced. So it's not just an expansion and a connector project, but they're also basically rehabilitating the civilian ramp for us as well.
So basically, it's just an entire airport revitalization process, you can call it.
It's pretty much that. I mean, every major area besides the runway is being touched on.
So it looks like there's going to be a lot of added conveniences and ease of travel now for people coming through the Alpena County Regional Airport. Thank you so much for telling us about all the updates and upgrades.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to show everybody what we've got going on out here. Thank you.
Absolutely, and hopefully everybody can come out and get some more traveling done. Thanks for joining us on another Insights. I'm Lauren Mixon.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.